We at Avalon work with startups a lot, and sometimes we meet founders who want to build a mobile app. While it may be justified in some situations, more often than not it's a risky choice. I think most startups should build their MVP as a web app. Please let me explain why. Hi, I'm Denis and I'm CTO at Avalon. On this channel, we explore modern ways to build better software faster. If you are interested in these topics, please subscribe. There will be more videos like this. Today, we are discussing why building a web application is usually a better choice for a startup than a mobile app. We'll compare the development speed, technology capabilities, user experience, and take a quick look from the business perspective. Finally, we'll talk about situations when you actually should be building a mobile app. First, how many apps we'll need to build? Native development for iOS and Android assumes using different programming languages, and an app built for one platform won't work on the other. So, to reach users on both platforms, we'll need to build two apps. There are frameworks for cross-platform development that make it easier, like React Native or Flutter, and I recommend considering them. However, even with these frameworks, there could be differences between the two app versions. Each platform has its UI guidelines, its ecosystem, an app store with its review policies. Being a good citizen means respecting platform rules, which differ between platforms. And what about desktop users? If we want to reach them as well, we need to build what? Apps for macOS, Windows, and Linux? Sounds too complicated, and just a few companies choose this way. Most are building a web application instead. The web is the most cross-platform technology ever invented. A web app would work on every desktop operating system, on mobile devices, smart TVs, and even some modern cars, which may also have a web browser. If you are thinking, well, people don't actually browse websites from their mobile phones, I can reassure you that they do. In fact, more than 2/3 of global web traffic comes from mobile devices. A web application can serve users on any platform, mobile or desktop. A mobile application will only work on one platform, iOS or Android, so we'll probably have to build two to serve both. And if we care about desktop, we'll have to build even more applications, most likely add a web app. Now, let's take a look at the update process. There are very important differences between web and mobile. To ship a new version of a mobile app, we submit it to the App Store. A review process may take a few days and then the app becomes available. It will be installed automatically for existing users who enabled automated updates, probably the next day. But nothing happens for those who didn't. They continue to run the previous version. In contrast, a web application is evergreen. When we ship a new version, it almost instantly applies to all users. There is no review process and no need to ask users to do anything. They just get a new version all at once. As a result, we can iterate much faster with a web application. The team can push updates multiple times a day. If we discover a bug in production, we can deploy a fix within minutes, and all the users will get the fix at once. With a mobile app, such cadence is impossible. The fastest release schedule would be once every few days, and even with that, some users may ignore updates for years. We can ask them to update within the app, but it adds extra friction and could be annoying. As a result, we should be very careful when pushing mobile app updates, and also care about API compatibility with old app versions. Debugging could also be more complicated for mobile. We have to deal with various operating system versions, screen resolutions, system settings, and other device-specific behavior, especially on the Android platform. Certain issues may appear on specific devices only, making investigation difficult. Similar issues may exist on the web. There is a variety of browsers, and browser incompatibilities may cause problems. However, the web situation has improved significantly over the years. Modern browsers are much easier to work with than, let's say, 10 years ago. To summarize, the development speed is slower for mobile. We have to support multiple application versions, updates are slow and not guaranteed, and the debugging could be more complicated. What are the benefits? There could be two. One is user experience for certain use cases, which we'll discuss later in the video. And two is full access to mobile device features. Let's talk about it for a moment. I'll pass it on to Ilya, our lead developer, who will compare it in more detail.
Thanks, Dennis. I'll try to highlight the most important differences and similarities between web and mobile, and illustrate them with examples when possible. The most obvious difference for a non-technical user is that mobile apps are on their phone, meaning they can be launched from the home screen. In contrast, web apps must be opened in the browser, and they're kind of temporary. They don't stay on their phone. Well, this isn't entirely true. Web apps can be added on the home screen, although many users don't know how to do it. For example, on iOS, open a website, tap the Share button, select Add to Home Screen, and it's here. If it's a regular website, it'll open in the browser with no surprises. However, the website may use progressive web apps technology, which provides additional capabilities. Look at this. This web app uses the standalone display mode and opens full screen without standard browser controls. Under the hood, it is still the browser, but it looks and feels like a mobile app. Next, such apps can work offline, just like mobile apps, with the help of another feature of progressive web apps called service workers. It's an optional feature, and developers need to write code to enable it, but it's quite doable if we need to make our app available offline. Also, web apps can store data on the user's device. And it's not just progressive web apps, but regular websites as well. Even after we close the tab with a website, the data stored on our device persists, and when we open the website again, it'll have access to it. The browser may limit the amount of data stored, and it could be less than the total space available on a device, but it's still decent. In most cases, it would be at least a few gigabytes. Now, let's look at sign-in options. Web and mobile apps have very similar choices here. We can use email, SMS, sign in with a Google account, Apple ID, Facebook, etc. Besides sign-in, mobile apps can also use biometric authentication for quick unlock with fingerprint or face recognition. On Apple devices, it's Face ID and Touch ID, and there are alternatives on Android. Almost all banking apps support it, password managers, also some car-sharing apps, and others. What some people don't know is that biometric authentication is now available for web apps too, through the Web Authn standard, although the user experience is a bit different. Here's the demonstration website for this technology. I'll put a link to it in the video description below. Compared to mobile apps, on the web, it involves one extra prompt about saving a passkey, and after that, we can use a fingerprint or face recognition for quick authentication on that website. Next, payments. Apple Pay and Google Pay are available both on the web and mobile, and the user experience is almost identical. However, commissions could be very different. On the web, a typical commission for credit card processing would be around 2 to 3%. But for mobile apps, both Apple and Google want their commission for digital products, which could be between 10 and 30% depending on various factors. It doesn't apply if you're selling physical goods or services, but for digital products, it could be a deciding factor. Push notifications are available for both web and mobile. There are many nuances here, including differences between iOS and Android, and I won't go into all the details. Let's just add a note that it works for both mobile and web, and notifications look similar. Now, let's look at features that enable certain user experiences. Here is a web version of Google Maps. We all know it's available as a mobile app, but it does have a web version, and it works on mobile too. Here you can see that it can access precise user geolocation, with their permission of course. Also, it supports touch gestures for navigating the map, and multi-touch gestures for zooming in and out. So let's put it on the table. It's also possible to play video and sound. Thanks, YouTube. It's possible to access the device's camera and microphone, with proper permission of course. Graphics on the web may work a bit slower compared to native mobile apps, but with modern technologies like WebGL, it's still decent for many applications. We can even use the device accelerometer with a web app. Look at this simple browser game. I can control it by tilting my phone, So, to summarize, the gap between web and mobile capabilities certainly exists, but it may not be as large as you might think. We can add web apps on the home screen, they can work offline, store data on the user's device, access the camera and microphone, geolocation, respond to touch and multi-touch gestures, use biometric authentication, and send push notifications. Dennis?
Thank you, Ilya. Now, let's take a look from the user experience and business perspectives. To use a mobile app, people first need to install it from the App Store, and after that, it remains on their phone. Depending on the use case, it could be a benefit or not. For example, I think people would strongly prefer a mobile app for instant messaging, such as WhatsApp or Telegram. While it's technically possible to implement it as a web app, and, as Ilya explained, install it on the home screen, enable push notifications and everything, it would go against user habits because people are used to thinking about instant messaging as mobile apps. An unusual way of app distribution might represent extra friction for its adoption. And here's another example. In Lithuania, where I live, the Grid Menu application has taken local restaurants by storm. Many of them now have QR codes on the tables, and after scanning the code, you can browse the menu or pay the bill for your table. I believe similar apps exist in other countries as well. The Grid Menu app is a web application that opens immediately after scanning the code. It reduces friction for first-time visitors because there is no need to install anything, which was probably the key to its success. And I'll give you one final example. At the time of making this video, the most popular mobile application in the Apple Store was ChatGPT. However, ChatGPT didn't start as a mobile app. It started as a web app that became hugely popular, and then they added a mobile app. This, in my opinion, represents the optimal path for most new projects. Start with a web app to iterate quickly and prove your idea, and build mobile apps later when the idea proves to be successful. Of course, there are exceptions to this. If your app absolutely needs low-level access to a mobile device or the best performance possible, yes, build a mobile app. If you are building in an area where almost all competitors have mobile apps, for example, taxi services, instant messaging, or games, starting with web might be an uphill battle. But if we are not talking about one of these exceptions, starting with a web app might be a better choice. There are fundamental reasons why building a web app is faster than mobile. And in terms of features, web apps can do almost everything these days. I hope this video was useful for deciding which type of app to build. And if you need help building a web or mobile app, we at Avellum are happy to help. I'll leave the link to our website in the description below. And that's all I have for today. See you next time.